This is Hannibal here with a UFO news update. A lot of UFO followers, or UAP followers, I should say, have been disappointed this week with the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act bill being discussed in the US. There were two provisions related to UAPs that were shot down. One was going to be a provision for eminent domain where the government would have control over all exotic material housed by private companies. And what happens is basically, according to reports, a lot of these quote unquote exotic materials, crashed or intashed saucers that have been recovered are in the hands of private places like Lockheed Martin, and at one point, I know Bigelow Aerospace had some, where once the government hands these materials over for study, they don't necessarily have full access to them anyways. That bill has been shot down. Then there was a second provision that was going to be part of the bill where there would have been a 9-person panel appointed to review all documents related to non-human intelligence and decide which ones to disclose and which ones not. Those were also shot down. So what's basically going to happen now is more people are probably going to come forward and more is going to be disclosed without the government's control, as it has been mostly up to this point, even though we've seen the government, for whatever reason, talking about this in Congress, and it's becoming, at least in the US, more of a real issue. David Grush, who used to work for the Pentagon's UFO program and recently became a whistleblower, has come out saying he's very disappointed that those bill provisions were dropped, and he has been approved to release some firsthand information that he's going to put out very soon. So that should be interesting because he's already said a lot. He's appeared on Joe Rogan, he's appeared on The Hill, News Nation. He said more military people have approached the Inspector's General Office related to UAP stories from secret programs since he first became a whistleblower. He does believe there has been cover-ups in the past related to this, and obviously there still are, but he says he's heard stories and he's had complaints about threats, very serious threats, where he from people who've wanted to come forward about this, and he's appointed them to the right authorities. He believes some of these UAPs that he has studied in his time working for the Pentagon are non-human, based on weird morphologies and other unique optical characteristics that he's seen happen with some of these craft and in his studying of them when he was working for the government. As far as the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, the government's office that's supposed to be investigating UAPs, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who was head of it, has stepped down. And Grush says they need to find a new director who people are going to have more confidence and trust in. No one has been appointed yet, as far as I know, other than a temporary person. David Grush believes there are defense contractors that are holding on to these exotic materials and have custody of the remains. He said former Senator Harry Reid, who recently passed away, has gone on the record saying Lockheed Martin did hold some of these exotic materials. He says it's been a nightmare for him since going public. Well, it's definitely created a stir since he has gone public. I did watch his full interview with Joe Rogan, and I was disappointed in like the last 20 minutes. They're talking about cars and stuff, and there's so many questions I had related to his research in UAP and things like that. But obviously, it's Joe Rogan's podcast. He can talk about whatever he wants. I also saw the Joe Rogan podcast Off Topic with The Rock recently. It was the most I've ever heard Joe Rogan talk in a podcast. He was telling more stories than The Rock. Anyways, very interesting UFO news. Sorry that those bills weren't, or the provisions to the bills weren't passed, but at least they're being brought to the table. Here in Canada, to my knowledge, there's nothing like that being talked about in government.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos,